All right, welcome back to Perdido Key Gaming. Figure we go back to Rolemaster from Iron Crown Enterprises. This is all second edition stuff here. Today we're gonna talk about the physical combat system. I think martial arts, animal, and weapons combat. Um, I've got two. We've got. I think this was the first one. 1980, 1984, and 1989. And this was one of these you could order back in the early 2000s and get a hardbound version of these. And they all came, there was a limited supply of them. But it was pretty cool, but until I opened it up and found out it was just kind of photocopied and more or less pretty poorly. But it was nice because some of my books were totaled. So, but most of this stuff, it's all the, pretty much the same system. So basically, there's weapons tables. The weapons you can buy the weapons, of course, or you're equipped with the weapons, or you find the weapons and everything like that. Anybody who's done most of the fantasy role-playing games know that, you roll a d20, result is factored against the armor, and it tells you whether you hit, then you roll for damage. Okay, right? Dungeons and Dragons is that way. Pathfinder, Starfinder, all of those are that way. Rolemaster differs in the fact that you're rolling a percentile dice, and just like with the Dungeons and Dragons, you can add +1, +2, plus whatever it is. Might come from your strength, might come from the magical weapon, a good weapon, an ability, something, a spell that might come flying in. It's pluses to your roll. So, which made it easy. A natural 20 would be a critical hit, and a natural 1 would be a fumble, as it were. So you've got your percentile, and the percentile you could, if you rolled a 0. Low open and roll, you roll the 0-1 through 0-5, it would be, you would go ahead and roll again and subtract that from whatever you got. And you could roll multiple 0-1s and things like that and end up with a terrible, terrible, terrible fumble. But the same goes with high open and roll. If you roll a 96 or up, then you roll again and add that on. So in essence, a first level fighter could possibly go ahead and critical hit a 30th level fighter and get something and whack off his head and be a total heroic maneuver, right? Combat sequences, battle round, you're just basically doing spells, and you do your archery, you do the range combat, you do melee phases and things like that. You get to fire off spells and fire off bows, crossbows, and thrown weapons before actual melee. The DM, you can see where I highlighted stuff because I was trying to highlight the important stuff. That was a long time ago. Look at how faded that stuff is. Armor still goes from armor type 1 to armor type 20. Each one, some of them are better than others. Some of the heavier stuff is harder to maneuver in. So if you're wearing this armor and trying to jump across, if you're wearing heavy plate armor, full plate armor, trying to jump across, the stream, you're probably not going to make it. Whereas if you're just naked, you don't have that problem. And some of these are just straight up, heavy hide, light hide, for your animals. You can parry, things like that. defensive bonus comes from any number of things. You know, it could be your armor quality, it could be your quickness, your adrenal defense, position, cover bonuses, spell bonuses, special item bonuses, shield bonuses, parrying, parry, dodge, you know, which helps out with your defensive, your numbers, because basically the defensive, your defensive modifiers are going to be subtracted from the total roll. Your defensive bonus is going to be removed from the percentile roll, whatever you got, okay? But the same goes with offensive bonuses. You get the same sort of things. You can modify your offensive bonus, and that adds on to the actual result of your percentile die range, right? Arms Law gives you all sorts of different things you can receive bonuses from. We've got some amount of combat, initiative, determination. We always went with your initiative points that you got from quickness and agility and stuff like that onto a percentile, and roll for everybody, including the, of course, the monsters or enemies involved. Different rules for large and super large. Of course, if you know, an arrow might cause a totally crazy hit against a normal orc, say, or goblin, or you know, a regular human being or whatever, but against a dragon there's an entirely different effect that's going to have. All right, so you can get stunned, things like that, you know, all the usual effects that can happen. A bunch of stuff about maneuvering and movement, of course. Your armor does affect that. Any magical items you have might affect that. But basically, you're going to go ahead and, you know, we're just going to go into the combat stuff. Bare hand attacks. Martial arts is considered, you know, it's very basic. There's no differentiation in the strikes and sweeps and throws and things like that. There's no, you know, distinction between, say, karate and kung fu, or you know, any of the other martial arts throughout the world. However, you can make that your, you know, make a certain martial art obvious by making a skill associated with that martial art, or several skills or whatever. You can find a name generator online and you know, make up some skill and give it an effect. The games master can do this and say, all right, well, you can go up in skill with both your martial arts, your sweeps and throws and things like that, and also these special abilities, you know, the fist of death or whatever you got, you know. Anyway, and speaking of that, there's combat, kung fu. They've got all the different kinds of things that you know, gives bonuses to certain skills within the martial arts field. Same, let's see, we got weapon statistics here. There's very few weapons, but you can easily add your own, and they got a bunch of it covered. There's probably tons of stuff out on the net to add to your weapons. What else we got here? Oh, Claw Law. So Claw Law is the animal version. Claws, bites, trample, you know, all this stuff. We got a bunch of monster statistics here telling you what attacks are available to them. Questions and answers. They anticipated that. So you can barely see it. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit here. Oops. So let's find a, yeah, see, this is a dagger. All right, so dagger attack table versus the type of armor, and it gives, depending on how much you roll, all the way up here, you know, it goes from 42 to 150, and some of these weapons go from 30 to 150, and as you go above 150, more effects come in, because you can, with open-ended rolls, end up with a number after defensive bonuses and offensive bonuses are at, excuse me, you can easily get above, well, not easily, get above 150. And so once you get above 150, there's more effects. So it could get nasty there. So an example would be a dagger against full plate armor would cause 3 points of damage and give you a C-type puncture critical, which might not be that huge, but when you roll on that critical table, you know, you could go right for the eyeball and kill the opponent, for example. So that's kind of sort of, and that's the way it's repeated throughout these weapons tables and the claw attack and the martial arts. Falcon, you know, versus totally unarmored person. You roll high, you get 34 in an E-type slashing critical. So that's, that's a bunch of damage. Am I right? So crossbows, spears, what have you, grapple, claw, talons, swallowing attacks, ram, butt, bash, knock, horn, tusks, tiny animals, a tiny animal like my cats. A kitten might have a claw attack, but it's not going to do as much damage as, say, a tiger with its bite. Fall, crushing attack, trample, stomp attacks. You get your martial arts sweeps and throws, martial arts striking attacks. So same thing, roll versus armor, and you'll see that even with going against full armor with a striking attack, 10 points damage in the E-type martial arts crit. All right, which leads us to the all famous critical hits strikes table, as we mentioned. Excuse me. A through E, critical strikes, and then all the way from 0-1, you get zip, nada, nichivo, nothing. But then, down here, say you get an E-type strike. Strike to the foe's groin area, plus 10 hits, all vitals are destroyed immediately. Foe is stunned and unable to parry for 12 rounds. So, I mean, that's pretty good hit. Which can happen, first level fighter versus 20th level fighter. You got all your different strikes, all your different critical types. Tiny animal critical strike, which, unbelievable. Neck strike knocks foe down, vein and artery is severed. Foe takes 20 hits per round, plus 20 hits per round, dies after 6 inactive rounds. And that's after a tiny animal. So you take that as you will. Watch those kittens. And then, of course, fumbles. Fumbles are exactly the same. You screw up, you get a bad fumble. Bad taste, poor execution. You attempt to maim yourself. Roll on the D critical slash table. So yeah, you can hurt yourself. In the maneuver movement tables, same thing. You can fumble and hurt yourself doing maneuvers. But that's about it for that. And then you got the tables in the back, at least in this particular version, to basically reiterate what was going on earlier in the book. So I hope that kind of explains how the Rolemaster combat system works. Basically, you're going to roll a percentile dice, subtract defensive bonus, re-roll again and add, or re-roll again and subtract, depending on how poorly your percentile die roll went. That leads you to an attack table. That attack table will give you the amount of points damage and whatever criticals happen. Then you go to the critical tables and roll for the critical or roll for the fumble and find out what the result of that is. Can lead to some hilarious or unfortunate results. But that's why a Rolemaster is extreme. There's no hitting each other with swords for 10 rounds, waiting to reduce the person to a certain number of hit points, even though the same thing does apply. the criticals and the fumbles in Rolemaster, what differentiates it, and the fact that you only have to roll one set of die, unless you, roll over or under, if you, get to roll again, they might be rolling dice all day long, but at a certain point, the game master has to just say, stop, that's enough, he's dead. But hopefully that kind of explains the Rolemaster system of combat. And if you like this, please let me know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you the next time.